La Raza was a newspaper in East Los Angeles. It was the paper that recorded the demonstrations and the organizing, talked about the meetings that occurred, and also talked about the issues of concern to the East LA Chicano community.
You had a movement that was taking place amongst a broad community that La Raza as a publication was a part of and was reporting on and giving coverage that they would never have gotten otherwise, because mainstream media was limited and was not interested in the subject.
A lot of us wanted to bring out the truth of who we were. We wanted to come out with our own news, with our own version, with our own story.
La Raza Newspaper was one of the key instruments, tools that we used to then communicate our ideology of Chicanismo, the equivalent to what is today Facebook and Twitter. That's how we got the message out.
La Raza was not composed basically of brown people. Deborah Weber was white, but she was more Chicana than more Chicano.
In the late 60s and early 70s, I was a young 21-year-old, 22-year-old. I was passionate, excited about things, involved with things, curious, and enthusiastic.
Gil Lopez and Patricia Boron, who are of Native American ancestry.
Probably one of the most enlightening experiences I had at La Raza was becoming a photographer.
We contributed and educated one another on those specific skills that possibly we had that others didn't. For instance, Manuel Barrera, he was so instrumental in educating me about photography, about developing film. Raul Ruiz was more of the political side. He knew about the powers that be and how government worked and what issues we should key in on for our community.
Maria Marquez Sanchez, single mom, a very, very dedicated young woman. Maria worked in every single aspect of La Raza.
I started on a 35mm Nikon. Luis Garza was a photographer at the magazine at the time. He mentored me as far as developing the film and using the camera.
It was a mix of personalities and talents, of ages, of gender. Some were parents, some were students. The amount of energy and talent, both professional and raw, was really eclectic. Everybody was dedicated to telling the story.
Joe Raza was the lawyer, always keeping us on the straight and narrow.
There were some people that were primarily photographers.
I was a contributor. I was not part of the decision-making or the, as they say, their board of directors, or I was not really a community activist, although in my own way, I've used my photographs to share with the community.
But at least the good core of us were organizers.
Discrimination that Chicanos had suffered in the United States were the inspiration and motivation for me seeking to be trained as an organizer, finding a group of young Chicanos and Chicanas who felt and believed that we needed to do something.
La Raza covered a wide range of issues, from everyday life of the Chicana and Chicano to anti-police brutality. In between, they looked at issues around education, anti-racism protests. They also covered issues around immigration.
There is a wind of change blowing among Mexican Americans. La Raza has tried to show in its pages the real story of change. The following pages reflect the issues which the people considered so relevant that they have been willing to risk status and jobs, friends and advantages, and even their lives to seek redress.
The historical achievements of La Raza relative to the Mexican-American community really has to do with the ways in which it constructed a powerful, persuasive, and provocative image of Mexican-Americans. So it painted a picture through photography, art, and political satire of a community that was both within and without American culture, deprived of some of its fundamental rights.
La Raza was headed at that time by Eliza Risco, who was Cuban of origin, and Ruth Robinson. They had come down from working in Delano, I believe with El Macriado, to really set up La Raza.
This story takes you from the Central Valley to Lincoln Heights, the Church of the Epiphany, where Father Luz was the priest. And he also was enamored with this idea of empowering the poor Mexican Americans to stand up for their civil rights.
And this is the Church of the Epiphany in the basement where La Raza first started. Is where Father Luz used to have a clothes hanger, and he had his vestments here. Is where we had our Getty machine in which we used to type our newspaper, and we had a desk like this where we used to lay out the stories and paste them on cardboard before we took them to press. We would go down, break down barriers, confront institutions, what I would call the spearhead of the movement. And that was our primary role, to hide behind that First Amendment by publishing a newspaper, and when the cops stopped us, to say, I am a journalist, I am carrying a camera.
And so we were community activists, all in the same mindset that we did want to see social change, and we did want to address the issues of social injustice within the community.
There definitely was a desire to work together to highlight certain aspects of the community, both the challenges the community was facing, but also the guts and creativity with which they're responding to those.
Waiting, 2, 3, go!
We went through a deep awakening, a discovery that we had a history and that there was actually something that we could be proud of in our own culture, our own tradition. We decided that we were going to make a difference.